What's going on, guys? It's Goose from the Wise Wealth Discord, coming back at you with a Sunday watch list, per usual. Just giving you guys some good setups and seeing how I'm viewing the market with the new data, the technical analysis, stuff to that nature. So we have SPY. I do want to mention before is like this is kind of the thing that Jimmy and I were talking about with seasonality coming up. We saw the 10% correction happen with the SPY, and that was kind of the best opportunity in years for some of these um, the huge rise that we've seen in equities. I mean, you don't usually see these type of generational dips. So typically, a lot of smart investors will always say, um, buy 10% corrections because you're guaranteed pretty much in a short amount of time you're most likely going to make a decent amount of money because the next lowest thing would be a bear market at 20%. When you start getting in those levels, those are things that you want to be buying continuously, because as you can see, the market, I mean, it just goes up. It just goes up. I know there's a lot of political stuff with money printing and stuff that happened around '08, and like how the market's seen this meteoric rise ever since the government started printing a bunch of money and doing QE and QT and stuff that's relatively new since '08. But at the same time, reality is reality. Is like even before that goes up, comes down, it goes up, it comes down, but ultimately the ultimate trend is always up. So just a little bit of a long-term knowledge and stuff to that nature is just continue to buy dips, I guess. I mean, it never stops. We could be in, the cup and handle. That shows the cup and handle that Jimmy's always talking about. Beautiful cup pattern. You have the handle, the breakout. So it's like things look really bullish. We're at all-time highs right now, so you never really know because I mean, there's not really a volume profile up here. It gets very thin, so if it's not quite denied, I mean, it doesn't have to be denied at this point. It doesn't have to be a big sell area. It is something that it has to build support around. So if it does break above, I mean, we're getting pretty damn close to testing it. That's a very small amount. If it does break above, it obviously is going to come back and retest that. That's the last point of like data that we have on it. So I'm not saying, it's going to sell off at this area, but we're kind of getting to that overstretched area to where, um, if you recall, a few weeks ago when it was consolidating, we were um, just watching. It was more on the cues that we were watching the consolidation. I do remember there was digestion, is what you would call it. So it's this area right here. So we were plotting these points, watching this consolidation happen, and it had its digestion motion moment because of this meteoric rise from November. Once that ended, this was a huge rise. So once it got up here, we were like, it either needs to pull back, 2 to 5%, or and chop around a little bit. And my 2 to 5% really wasn't bad because from the bottom of that to the top of this, it did end up coming down about 2.5%, almost 3%. And it's like that's the pullback that it needed to reset the RSI. It was obviously accumulation in this consolidation that was happening. And once it broke above last week, we were plotting these points last Sunday on the Qs. Is like we had this consolidated, it broke out. You could see this wick, it came down, tested it, built that as support, and now it's pushing up. And it's like those are why we're watching those levels on the Qs. I banked a decent amount of money on the breakout. IWM, same thing. I was plotting this a while ago when it was hitting the bottom support. And now you can see we're testing the 200 level. That is massive because this is the weekly chart. This breakout is going to be huge. Right now, you can see, volume is very, very high. People are starting to buy the dips on small caps because of future forecast of cutting rates. These are very rate sensitive stocks in the IWM. So above 200, I mean, it's starting to look really, really bullish with the breakout because right now there's a lot of resistance here. There's one touch. It used to be support. Tried to hold it, lost it. Now it's resistance. One, two, three, four, five. And it's like, is it going to get denied and make another leg, come back down? or does it break above and it shows that that's a new demand zone? It breaks above, retest. So right now I'm kind of on the fence. Like I'm thinking we are due for, consolidation, some digestion after that move. But like I said, if we do break above this line, I mean, there's really no saying where we go. There's not really data to show resistances or support. So I would be I wouldn't, can't guarantee anything in the market, but if we do break above, I could see us definitely testing above. So like, try not to chase calls up here. If Monday it opens, we get 1.5%. I could definitely start to see a little, 2% or whatever amount we're up on all-time highs. I could see it start to come down. Hopefully, a little digestion, make it a little bit of a healthier move. And like that's why I was all okay. Is like we played the initial breakout on this 10% correction. Once you got that, then you can close your positions. I closed them early, around like here, I think, because I was expecting a further pullback, and then it just consolidated. And it's like we were watching these levels. Um, GDP or not GDP, CPI helped it, like we said, and then the FOMC meeting was huge, and that's eventually when it broke out. Is I think the GDP broke it out, and then FOMC just continued to just move higher, and that's I mean it's ugly, but that's consolidation, that's sideways, that's digestion, that's a pullback. See right here, little pullback, and it's like those are healthy on uptrends. And it's like now that we're running into all-time highs, that's my point. It's like maybe we're due for some consolidation, a little bit of a pullback. But if we do break above, I would like to see, the 405. The top looks like it's 408, somewhere around there. It needs to hold above 408, 405, somewhere around there to continue to like build support here. If it does break above, if it does start to get denied, I could see us coming back down to try and build support here, possibly. But we'll see. I'm not really calling for a pullback necessarily this week, but it's kind of at that point where you would expect some sort of digestion, some sort of profit taking at all time highs. But at the same time, if we break above, that's a huge resistance point because it is all time highs and there's no volume up here. So it's like it can continue to squeeze people out if you try and short it. So it's like just because we're at all time highs doesn't mean everyone's going to sell and it's going to be a double top. And it's not guaranteed. We're going to continue to watch the levels that we have right now in the short term time frame. And that's where I'm at. As you can see, it's clear at a resistance level with all time highs right there. So the Q's is questionable. It's a little bit sideways right now. We'll see. I would like it to hold, 400 area if it does come back, just to make sure it's not, coming all the way back down to 390. IWM, like I said, 200 is the strongest resistance. So that's the equity market. Obviously, if you see these big bullish moves, big upswings, then you start to see it in stocks. You start to see the stocks get close to all-time highs. And Apple, they cleared it. They had an all-time high, and then the 10% correction, they broke out of that. Beautiful breakout, and it's been continuing higher. And it's like that's why you draw those downtrend channels to show a reversal. And it's like you have it, boom. And it's just been going out ever since. So we'll see. They're at all-time highs as well, and like I said, there's just not like a lot of volume. There's not a lot of resistance up here, so it's not just because we're up here, it's going to sell off. It could continue to buy. People could continue to keep piling into this rally, and we'll just have to see. Microsoft was one of the good shorts I did have. They're still consolidating, it seems like. They still have some sideways action to work through. Sideways action, like I always say, it's either accumulation or distribution. If you're accumulating, it's going to go higher. If you're distributing, you're selling it off to people. So that's what we're waiting to see, what's happening in this consolidation with Microsoft. People love to buy the dips, so it's like if it does break below, it's not like cry for help. I would see 350 as the next very strong support. I think it would be healthy. You got Nvidia. That one was looking juicy. I was just plotting this consolidation during the week, and it ended up breaking out. And as you can see now, it's holding higher. It's like that's why you want to watch these levels, because right here was a support that was broken, and it was acting as resistance. It was selling off, and once it broke above, it built support where the previous resistance was. So it's holding it, and then it's got to break above the resistance. Broke above, it goes higher. It's like these are the plays that you could be playing. Meta, Nvidia, by the way, their all-time high is 500 something. It's like 505, I believe, 505.48. So they're not very far from all-time highs as well. They still are in a massive range. This sideways action is massive. So if they do break above, I mean, you could see 550, 600, whatever it is. Nvidia is just a juggernaut. Good luck, if you're going to short them. Be very careful. Don't hold for too long when it comes to Nvidia. Uh, I would say next point of support would be 485 if we do, have some sort of sell off from all-time highs on Qs. Meta, they broke above. They're finally a little bit of, sorry, I'm getting hiccups. A little bit above resistance. We do have just some sideways action going on until above 343. I wouldn't get super bullish again. Trying to see if I can see like a pattern of some sort. Not really. I mean, it's got a little slight uptrend here. Higher high, higher low. Now it's trying to see if it can make a higher high and break above this. If it does, pretty bullish. I could see 350, 360 pretty easily if it does break above it. Tesla's the juicy one, man. We've been watching this all week. Whoo, it's looking good. It's looking good. I bought some leaps. I bought some further out calls for about the 300 price target. The thing that I liked a lot is the liquidity that it grabbed here, and it did shoot up instantly once that happened. It was a beautiful thing if you were watching it. Came down and it had news about a recall, so the morning it was pretty rough. It was like 2-3%, and once it had a false breakdown and broke right back up into the range, it just didn't stop. See right here is a little bit closer detail. Is like you have the consolidation, it broke out, but this was a liquidity grab. Obviously, it was grabbing all those sellers so it can move it up higher. And once it broke above that's what gave it the momentum to finally break out of this downtrend. Because we've been watching this downtrend for a while, and it's like these are the big things. Because look at the previous one, it had the same exact movement. It's almost like a W. 1, 2, 3, gone. 1, 2, 3. Is it gone? Because it's like, look at these breakouts. When it does break out, that was a massive move. That was a huge move after this breakout. 60%. You catch any of that and a call option, holding for a couple months. I mean, it's big money. We're finally breaking out. You give us 60% from here, that we're talking 400. And it's like that's cool. I'm not calling no Tesla's going to all-time highs, but these are levels that we're watching, and there's a reason we're watching them because it's showing the supply and demand zone. And if you're turning what used to be supply into demand, then that's going to create a higher high. And it's going to keep going. I broke it down in the 15-minute. We do have a nice little pennant formation. It's trying to build support um, above that trend line that it recently had just broken out of. So it's definitely good that it's coiling up. It's cooling this RSI off because as you can see from this point where it's getting oversold to up here, now it's overbought and it's cooling the RSI. It's staying the same price, consolidating, but like I said, the sideways action, accumulation or distribution. If it distribution and it breaks down below, it could easily test back around the 247. And if it doesn't hold that, then 244, 240. So we got to watch that. It could still be a false breakout technically, but man, does it look good. It looks really good because the RSI on the weekly is right about perfect. You had this breakout, you had to come down a little reset, and now if it breaks above again, you could start to see these areas tested. At least 300 is my price target. I like the top of this range at least, but Tesla's really starting to look bullish to me, and I like that. Netflix was one that I've been kind of eyeing as well. They, obviously sold off a lot when they had their earnings multiples just kind of slashed. They had a lot of resistance right here: 1 touch, 2 touch, 3 touch, 4 touch, 5 touch, 6, and these are weeklies. So we're talking 6 weeks of time where it just could not break through. They had a great earnings. Now they broke above. What happened? They retested it. They broke above. it's a retest. That blue arrow right there is showing what previous resistance was. They're trying to build support, and then you had a bullish engulfing occur right after that. So Netflix looks really good. That's Netflix and Tesla, Nvidia. Those are like the three that I'm really looking at that I like for calls if the Qs does break through all-time highs and they start to work their way up. Netflix above 480. Tesla, I think Jimmy was saying 255 would be like the official breakout point. So we'll have to wait and see. Amazon, it's coiling up beautifully. That's a weekly, so it's definitely been in a coil action, which I kind of expected because if you look over to the left, right here where this purple box was a huge range, huge support and resistance level, and it's like it's running right into it. So you just got to be careful of these price actions and continue to play your levels because it could break below and then come back and test the ultimate trend. I don't see Tesla coming below 130 for probably a while. Even if we do get a pullback, I mean people are going to be buying this dip because right now, I mean general consensus is that the Fed is achieving a soft landing. That's what they're trying to do. The bears will continue to say, "Oh, we've hiked the fastest we ever have with interest rates in a long time. Um, we're at all-time highs. People will start selling. Say we need to wait for things to crack. This. It's like these are going to take 9, 10, 11 months to play out. So it's like you can't just, oh, we're at all-time highs. You got to short it. These can continue to keep ripping, continue to keep going. Um, there wasn't too much more. I'm just really big into tech right now. Shopify, they had their consolidation, same situation. There's a big resistance. They broke above. What are they doing above it? They're trying to build support where the previous resistance was. They did. They broke above it, and now we have a higher high. So that's looking pretty solid. If it did come back 75, if it does break above, the $80 mark, it definitely could see it going up to like 90 and continue to keep going. That's a nice, beautiful base it has. AMD is another one that looks really solid. If I was going to go along with it, it still has the cup and handle. It finally broke above previous resistance, and now all we have is the consolidation phase. Is it accumulation or distribution? That's what we're waiting to see, but that's why we draw these levels, so we can give you the alerts in the Discord about it. So we'll see. We will see. Lots of consolidation and things happening, but it is a beautiful thing. Another thing I did want to show was the dollar. The dollar came back and retested it, like officially, because I know last week I was saying the same thing, but it didn't quite touch it. It was just close. But this time it did. It did come and touch it, and it obviously kind of got bought up a little bit right there. So we'll see. The dollar going up is kind of inverse. If the dollar goes up, then tech stocks tend to not do as well. Stocks in general don't. So bulls are wanting it to break through and come all the way back down. Bears are really wanting this to start to push up. Same with like the yields. The yields, I thought this would be the next point of support. It broke through. So it's like yields are continuing to drop. We have the semiconductors with AMD and Nvidia looking strong. They had a huge breakout in the weekly. They broke out again. They broke this previous resistance. So now there's a huge resistance point right here that used to be support for a lot of them. And that's why it's starting to test it. So we're waiting for a break above 30, 31, about $31. And AMD, NVIDIA, all those semiconductors, MU, SMCI, they all can continue to break new highs. AMD's looks like they're heading for it. NVIDIA looks like they're heading for it at the bullish engulfing continuation. Now it just needs to break above 500 and you can start to see all-time highs. But yeah, I mean, we're doing it. We were predicting all-time highs by the end of the year, and that's where we're at right now. It's just the simple reality. So, hope you guys had a great weekend. We will stay in touch. Economic calendar. I was going to show that. I don't think it's anything crazy. PCE and GDP. I just looked up economic. Oops. Calendar. Home builder confidence, housing starts, building permits, existing home sales. Thursday, initial jobless claims, GDP, that'll be a big one. We got Philadelphia Fed manufacturing. Manufacturing's been kind of in the toilet lately. Lots of people already kind of have that priced in. Friday, PC, that would be big. Core. Those are core is what the Fed likes to look at typically. So this would be a pretty big one on Friday. We'll see. It might just be some, like I said, some sideways action, some digestion. Could be that type of week, and it's like we want to wait for our levels to break. Tesla is breaking right now. Amazon's coiling up. Nvidia's been coiling up. So there's things that we possibly could play, but we want to see the Qs kind of have a continuation past all-time highs until we start getting ultra bullish on things. And like I said, if it does break above, it's almost guaranteed it's going to retest. So we want to make sure that we don't get caught, chasing things once they get bought up. We want to wait to see if it can retest that area and start to try and build the support there. But you guys have a great one. I'm going to post this in the Discord tonight.